Alright, so I'm hoping you've gone through the tutorial, you've tried it all out, you've played around with things, you've gotten things up and running, you got things moved around. Some of this may be a bit of repetition, but I'm going to show you through everything and kind of give you the process of going through there. So I'm going to click on Create New Design, and it's going to bring me to a new design window. Alright. The first thing that we really care about is just the basics. So we're going to talk about moving our perspective. We're going to be adding items, we're going to be moving items, and we're going to be resizing items in this video tutorial. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Box, and then I'm going to drag it over into here. And that's our first object, all right? I'm adding this just so we have something to reference to look around from, and we'll be adding more objects later on. So the first thing that we want to do is look at changing our perspective, right? So see how I can drag and look around at all the different sides of the square. I can get on top, I can go underneath, I can move this around in any direction that I want, all right? What we can also look at is up here on the upper left, there's a square that we can actually move and manipulate things a little bit faster. And if you click on any of them, you can have it kind of align or snap items together and realign it perfectly so you can see it nicely. All right, so that's the first thing. Take a few seconds to kind of drag around, look around, try those different objects. And that's going to be done with the right click. So the right button, usually your middle finger will be resting on that button. You can click and drag to basically move it around however you like. All right. You might have noticed that I was also able to shift and do this like kind of sliding back and forth, up and down. This is called panning, and this is done by clicking the middle wheel on the mouse. So that little scroll wheel, you can actually click it on there, and it will let you move and kind of move and change the panning perspective. So I can change the angle that I'm looking at, but then I can move the whole window, like slide it or translate it left or right, up or down, or anything else like that. All right. The other thing I want to talk about is the ability to zoom. With that scroll wheel, if you click it up, you zoom in a little bit every time. So now I can pan, zoom, and then I can change the angle. I can zoom back out. I can pan down a little bit, change the angle. And again, this requires a little bit of practice. Those who play video games frequently will probably feel pretty comfortable doing this because a lot of video games use some sort of similar style for movement. And if you're not very familiar with video games, it's just something you need to practice for a few minutes to get up and running. So we can move it around, and this is going to give us a lot of basically like maneuverability and things like that. All right. We can also, if we want to select items, we can draw with our left click a box around items and say like, hey, I'd like to select all the items in this box. Very much like a Windows desktop or other types of operating systems and things like that. So that's just the basic movements. All right. The next thing we're going to look at is how to add items to this board. And there's more than one way to do it, and there's a few other things that we can do to kind of play around and just play around with some manipulations and get real comfortable with this.